Thank you everyone for coming. I know it's a Friday, so I'm glad I gave you an excuse to leave work a little bit early. So quite proud of that. But thank you anyway for coming. And today's topic, I think, is pretty straightforward, which is many of you in the Web3 community are probably facing a problem that many of you will see, which is essentially opening bank accounts and getting access to traditional financial institutions, right? Just quickly as a show of hands, can we maybe have an idea in terms of how many of you are looking for a Hong Kong bank account? Yeah. and how many of you have sort of faced problems? No one? Oh, that's very good. Okay, well, congratulations to you guys. That's good. Essentially, RD Technologies today, we're basically trying to solve a lot of the pain points, which is what the current banking system, as we see, is perhaps underserving a lot of the Web3 community. We're very excited about Hong Kong becoming the Web3 hub. And so we want to help different projects, different protocols, different exchanges, et cetera, to be able to grow quickly. And essentially what's really needed is a traditional banking rails, right? And how we do that is really through something called an RD wallet. Now, something in terms of pain points that we've seen in the Web3 space is essentially these 5 things. Web3 companies, a lot of the times, are not accepted. The lucky few of you who have opened accounts, obviously good for you. But we have a lot of customers who aren't able to open accounts, particularly because of regulation perhaps is a little bit less clear. Maybe it's not worth the risk for some of the existing banking systems or whatever other reasons, right? So that's the first one. The next one is that some of these banks require high minimum deposit requirements, right? And that's something that, as a startup, I understand can be a huge pain point and perhaps not something that is easily dealt with. It can also be a very lengthy process, right? It can take over a couple of months, and at the end, maybe you end up actually not being able to open one. On the bottom there, some of you might have different directors, shareholders in different countries, and this requires a physical presence, right? It requires you to come into the branch, be able to sign things all together in one time, which can also be a problem for some. And finally is that a lot of the times it requires some sort of business traction, right? You're able to actually have sales, you have a certain amount of size in terms of the company before you're able to be eligible for a traditional banking account. Now, the difference in terms of how we can help is that we really try and solve those 5 problems. First, on the top left, essentially we can open an account for a company that's incorporated today. So we're very proud of that. And what that means is we really are serving the entrepreneurs of tomorrow, the startups of tomorrow. And so, we have plenty of founders who come in and they just have their fresh BR, they have their fresh M&A, and they can essentially have these different PDFs, and they come to us and they download the app, and they basically upload it, and essentially they can have a working RD wallet, which allows them to fund in, fund out, right? On the right there, you can see it's 100% remote onboarding. This is something really important, and it pertains to the next part there, which is it accepts global companies. What that means is that if you're a company that's based in Brazil, if you're an Australian exchange, if you are a BVI because you're an asset manager, you can also open RD wallet when you're doing remotely anywhere across the world, right? And so this is something quite unique, where traditional banks, you would have to come in and you would have to come into the branch. On the left there, we can do it very quickly. Especially for new companies that maybe have a very simple structure, maybe it's a SoPro, we can actually open it within a day as well, right? So we're really aiming for convenience, acceptance, remote onboarding, as well as serving the global audience, because we see that Web3 is a hugely global market, right? And so these are things that RD Wallet can help with. Now, just to give you guys a little bit of a taste in terms of different companies we work with. So we were actually launched in November of last year. So we've actually been fully launched over the past 3 months. We now have a couple hundred clients, a lot of them in the Web3 space. We do serve global exchanges. We have different OTC desks, as well as different protocols and even development projects as well. Some of the more prominent ones that I can share here include Hashkey, OSL, Reap, as well as Virgo CX, right? So licensed exchanges, as well as OTC desks are actually working with us as well. Now, something important is that we already have quite a large global footprint. As I said, we're global, so we can serve 190 jurisdictions. You can see we have different countries that we have been serving, whether it's in every continent across the world as well. So just a little bit of a background of who we are, all right? Like, what is RD Technologies? We haven't heard about it. You're new to the block. Well, essentially, what we're most famous essentially is for our founder, right? So our founding chairman is actually Dr. Norman Chan. So Dr. Norman Chan was actually a professional regulator, right? So he actually spent 10 years as the chief executive of HKMA, right, between the 2009 and 2019. A very important time for Hong Kong, right? One of the licenses that we have is called the Store Value Facility License, right? A lot of you might have heard of an SVF license where you can think of a lot of things that you use today, like PayMe has an SVF license, Alipay has one, WeChat Pay has one, Octopus has one. The slight difference there is that they mainly serve customers to businesses or customers to customers, right? Every one of you probably has one of those wallets in your phone, and you're mainly using it for your personal accounts. The difference for RD Wallet is that we really serve business to business. So this would be a wallet, essentially, that feels like a PayMe, but it's really for all your business needs, right? And so that's the difference. And the SVF license allows us to store funds. Why it's important that Norman's here is also because this regime was actually launched under his purview, right? It was actually launched in 2016. And as you can see there, our license number is number 16 because we're the latest SVF that's been added to this licensing regime. Just to give you a little bit of nitty-gritty, we'll go through this very quickly. Here's a very important difference between an SVF license versus a banking license and versus something which you guys might be familiar with, which is called a money service operator license, or an MSO. Just very quickly, an SVF is also regulated by HKMA, which offers a certain level of protection, right, versus the money service operator, which is basically regulated by the Customs and Excise Duty. The difference is that we have more customer fund protection because on the back end, essentially, all the funds are held at a bank. We can also store money, right? So we can take your deposits. We don't force you to take it out. It's not a remittance. It's not a transfer. You can use it as a bank account. There are very few licenses out there. We are, as I mentioned, one of 16, 13 of which are currently active. And essentially, we offer these different things like mobile onboarding, and it's easy, etc. Right? And so that's the difference, I would say, between the three different sections. So what can you do with the RD wallet? All right, this is something important that we mentioned. So we serve global businesses. It's 100% remote onboarding. And on the right side, I think, becomes how important in terms of how you can use it. Right, so it works in the same way where it's all on an application, but the difference is that essentially you can still do things like instant transfers. Essentially, we do all traditional banking rails, so you can fund in, fund out through traditional SWIFT. You can also use local payment rails, right, such as faster payment system, FPS, right? You can also use chats if you're doing non-Hong Kong dollar within Hong Kong as well. We currently serve 5 different FX rates. We have Hong Kong dollar, we have offshore Chinese yuan, US dollar, euro, as well as Japanese yen. So if you have any FX needs, a lot of Web3 companies do. If you're a global company or if you're doing OTC, a lot of the times you have payouts here in Hong Kong. You might have a US dollar pairing trade and you come back to Hong Kong and want to do some FX to pay out to your Hong Kong client here. Essentially, you can use the Hong Kong dollar as well. And obviously, because we're regulated by HKMA, something we take very seriously is security of your funds. And so we have our own banking-grade security infrastructure, risk management, as well as the fact that our own KYC system is also audited by these different regulators and different Big Fours. So this is something which I think is very important for you. And so if you're interested in actually getting one of these wallets, we can actually start that process, which is why I have my team here. So if you want to learn a little bit more, they can basically link up, whether through WhatsApp, WeChat, and you can essentially start that process on your phone. And so For the Cyberport incubatees, we want to make this as easy as possible. You can do it on your own at home with your phone, but if you'd like us to help you out as well, we're going to be hosting an onboarding session next Thursday between 5 and 6. Our office is just in Causeway Bay, so it's fairly easy and you guys can come in. We just ask that you basically have some of your information ready, such as your BR, such as your MOA, and these sort of important documents that you guys may have. So essentially, that's what it is. And we have today, I want to introduce Crystal in the middle here in gray in the puffy jacket. She's part of our partnership team, as well as Ivy, who can help with onboarding, and also Zach here, who can also help with this process. So thank you. Maybe we can do some Q&A. Correct. So RD Wallet is only a fiat wallet, and so we don't deal with any stablecoin, we don't deal with cryptocurrency. But what it means is that we're Web3 friendly. So something that we talked about at the start is essentially we serve as the fiat rails for different types of customers in Web3. So we might be, we work with global exchanges, OTC desks, so they might deal with the fiat, the crypto part, and then we're just the fiat on and off rails.
Great. So I'm able to receive my fiat and kind of use it as my account.
Correct.
Okay, that's great. Yeah, because there is, I guess, some difficulty in Hong Kong for some Web3 businesses doing that, isn't it?
Correct.
Yeah.
Correct.
Okay, that's great. Thanks.